welcome back to Fantabulous, where we do product development drawings for handbags. Okay, so we did this little number last week. It's a was a white grain leather tote. Very nice, very nice. And now what we're going to do is colorize it and add some shadows. So let's go to there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I just obviously scanned in my sketch, and then I went to object image trace and make an expand, or just or make, and then I converted it into a digital sketch. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to go and find some nice leather textures to throw on this guy. So first thing I want to do is I want to go to Safari. I found this kind of white leather. I'm just gonna grab that. It's free pics. So it looks okay. The other one was a little bit smoother, but I like this because it adds the texture's gonna add some relief to it, some three-dimensional idea to it. So I got this nice piece of leather. I think I want to make it, the grain is a little big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the whole thing and make it smaller. You can just go online and ask for something like, smooth grain leather repeat, and see what the Google machine gives you. And usually you'll have a lot to pick from. Try to get stuff that doesn't have like weird watermarks on it, anything, or obviously free is better. You don't have to manipulate images if you can avoid it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say crop image, because we need this to be a square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get away from the edges, and I'm going to see, okay, so we need to get a little bit narrower. Let's go to 2, okay, I'm going to do 320, and then I'm going to go down here. Okay, I'm going to move it a little bit. Okay, let me make sure that it's, okay, it's pretty good. So next I'm going to hit return. Now I have my nice piece of leather. I think the grain is big enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it and put it over here. Now, actually, another thing you want to do before you do that, I did that already, but we can still work with it. What we're going to do is I'm going to go to rasterize. I want to rasterize this, make it a little less complicated. You hardly lose anything when you rasterize. It just becomes a smaller file, so when you use it, your image isn't like super heavy laden with data, megabytes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our direct select tool, and we're going to grab parts of our bag. If you remember, it had like this interesting kind of cut up bottom detail. I'm just grabbing every single, oh, what happened? Something really weird happened there. It moved. So let's try again. Let's just grab our shift, and we're going to just pick as much up of this image as we can. All right, there we go. And then, the bag was all self material. In other words, the trim, everything was the same. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit more. And I'm going to just grab everything. After everything has its correct leather texture that we found, we will add some other things like shadows. Okay, so we got everything. I think we're working okay. Okay, we're looking good. Okay, this area might be a little bit more hectic. No, it actually didn't work off so bad. So I'm just grabbing every spot I can and filling it up with this nice leather texture. The only thing that's probably going to be a little different is the edge paint, because that can be different. Okay, so I think we grabbed everybody. Let's just go ahead and touch on our, woo! Now, up close it's like, ew, it doesn't look so good. But when we zoom out, much better. See, got like a little leather kind of a thing. Now I can do this and do it again. You might say, you know what? The grain looks a little bit, now that I'm looking at it, it looks a little huge. I want to go down smaller. So I'm just going to go to my scale tool over here on my sidebar, double click. double click on it, says uniform 50%. So I want to go, maybe 50% is a little too much. I think I only want to go down like 40%. So I'm going to go down to like maybe 30%, 70%. Uniform scale down. Let's try it 30% down instead of 50. And I'm only going to do transform pattern. So I'm off clicking the transform object. I'm touching the OK button. Now, that was too much. And you can see the shadowing, which looks awful. So I'm going to do zinc. And I'm going to just go ahead and go down. Let me see. That's way too much. Let's do like 80%. There. Okay, that looks a little bit better. And it sits better with the way the original bag was. Now, you can say, ew, I hate this. So you can go back and you can put in a white smooth grain leather into your search engine, whatever you prefer. And it's going to give you a lot of different, here, like this one, for example. That's a different look. It's artificial, but, there are leathers that do look like that. Let's see, that one. No, that one wasn't as good. Let's go back. This actually is in keeping more with the original, although I like the pebble look better. What we picked here is actually a pebble grain. It's not a smooth grain. I'm sorry, I should be telling you these things. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, obviously, oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to show layers. Okay, so I'm going to grab this and see how big it is. Okay, so it's actually a perfect square. Let's go down a little bit more. Maybe this is better looking. It might actually. All right, so you know what? Let's do the same thing we did before. We're going to rasterize this guy, make it a little bit more of a simpler kind of a texture so that we don't make a big fat document. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this again. Now let's actually just pick a few panels and see. Let's pick the biggest panel and see if I like it better. Nope. Well, actually, I did make a mistake on this. I should have cropped it. Okay, so let's do that. Let's grab this. I'm not sure I like it yet, but let's keep working with it. So I'm going to say, go to Object, Crop Image. Okay, I'm going to move this down a little bit. There. And I think, let's see how big this is. It's perfect. Okay, so let's just hit that. It's already rasterized. Okay, so this is a definite maybe. All right, we're going to grab again the largest one and see what it does. Okay, yeah, I think actually I like this much better. So, okay, let's go back, do the footwork again. Grab. You see how rasterization makes it look a little bit nubblier? If that's even a word, nubblier. Okay, it's kind of leafy, kind of yucky looking. All right, let's just grab everybody. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, of the jury. All right. We grab everybody again, and then we're going to apply our new texture that we like much better, or I like much better. You can pick whatever you want. Some people like the vinyl look. I hate that, but you know what? Everybody has a right to have different tastes. Okay, so I'm grabbing all of the panels again. And we're almost done. Okay, so I'm just gonna... Okay, let's reel back and see what we did. Okay, so I like it. It's good. Okay, so now we have our leather texture. And now you can actually stop and say, well, that's all I'm going to do. I want a really flat image. You can do that. And then we'd stop right here. But because I'm going to show you how to do shadows, I won't stop here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to imagine a beautiful light up here in the corner. Right hand top corner, and it's shining down. So where would the shadows fall? Would fall on the gusset, obviously, towards the bottom, and we'll work on it. So let's grab our pen tool. Let's do that. Okay. And obviously also on the under parts of everything, you're going to have a shadow, but we'll work on that later. First, let's do the larger shadow, which is going to be something like, well, you have to imagine the shadow. Obviously, look at shadows, how they fall. Think about how, nice the leather will fall. And you just kind of like imagine if I was a shadow, where would I be, kind of a thing. So, sounds a little strange. And you imagine also the, okay, that's just a little confusing. We're getting a little bit of a, okay. Okay, so what I need to do is just get rid of the fill because I don't need it right now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap that shadow around the bottom. So there we're going. Wrap, wrap, wrap. Wrap, wrap, wrap. Okay. I hope I'm teaching something good to somebody because sometimes I wonder if I'm doing. I know I can do this work because I did it for like 20 years for pay and no one ever threw me out. So I always wonder if I'm a good teacher. So if anybody has any complaints, please tell me. I'd love to hear them. Okay, so next we have our shadow, the outline of our shadow, and where we think it's going to fall. So the next thing we can do is we're going to add black to the shadow, and wow, that becomes so dark. But that's okay because we're going to go to, oh, what do I got all these crazy things? Okay, close, close, close. It's somebody's birthday. Oh, okay, all right. So we're going to go to opacity on our shadow shape, and 100% is way too much opacity, so we're going to go to 20%, still too much. There. Okay, so that's 7%. Let's see how it looks. Hello? Okay, so now we have an idea of shadow, and it looks pretty good, I think. Now, we want to do the same thing. Oh, what happened there? We want to do the same thing on the under handle, for example, because that's going to be in cast in shadows as well. That's a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into those shapes. When you do a, okay, let me see. When you do an auto trace, it creates all these great shapes that all you have to do is grab them. And you grab all your little shapes here, and then you say, just simply say, copy paste, and then you do the same thing you did before. We're going to grab them and make them black. So why am I making them black? Because I'm going to do the same exact thing I did with the shadow shape I actually created, and I'm going down on the opacity down again to like 12%, something like that, something minor, because I just want to put them back. Whoa, there. Okay, so now I've cast the undershadow there, and it's very subtle, as you can see. You could do the same thing here, but here you might have to do a little work. Okay, wait a minute. Nope. Let's just do this. I'm going to just go ahead and add a shadow here because the shadow will be cast by the handle, so you're going to do that too. I'm just really, this is really a quick one, so it's like, it doesn't have to be that perfect, but I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Black, and then hit opacity, go down to like whatever, 14%, something like that, just something very mild. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is, this edge was, on the original bag, was had edge paint, like tonal edge paint, so let's go to our swatch library and open swatch library, and we're going down to gradients. Now we have all sorts of nice gradients, but we want something naturalistic looking, so I think for this we're actually going to go to skin tones. Well, actually maybe not, maybe stone and brick. Skin tones might be too yellowish, okay, or pinkish. So let's go here and see what that looks like. Okay, that's not bad, but I think I want to do more of a global kind of a thing. Now let's switch that around. Okay, so now we have a little bit of detail there. Now let's look back and see if we need any more shadows. Actually, I want to go closer a little bit here. I'm seeing here, I don't like the way the shadow's sitting here, so I want to move it. So you can actually just move your shadows. There you go. There. Yeah, I think that looks better. Okay, so now let's zoom out again to 100%. Where else do we want shadows? I mean, you can add another bit of a shadow in this hole here. It's a little bit of a hole. And I think I want to add some shadow just here very subtly. So I think I'm just going to do an actual line and make it fat. And then I'm going to do little doodads here to just punch up the shadows. But again, this is all just me and my preference. You don't actually have to add shadows when you're doing a product development sketch at all. So I just made a line there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a fat line. I'm going to make it like 10. Nah, that's too much. 4. There's a nice fat line. And then I am going to make the end cap rounded. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before, but with the line, I'm going to reduce the opacity by a lot. All right, so now I have this little line here that's giving me the impression of, ooh, that's not what I wanted to do, of shade, of shadow in the crease. Doesn't want to do what I wanted to do, but we'll work on it. Just sometimes you have to really get in close so the computer understands what you want to do. There. Okay, so now I think we're working okay. Let's go back and see how that worked out for us. Okay, so let's move back. You go back and forth. Yeah, now I think I want to add something here too, because it's got kind of a, but this I think I'm going to do a shape. I'm going to do kind of like a, maybe not, maybe let's do a wacky line. Okay, so let's just mimic the line here. Of course, all the colors that we're doing here are going to be very subtle. Okay. Maybe we will do a shape. Okay. Now think of how the leather would fall on such a shape. Okay, so you're like, what is that black hole there? Don't worry, just go back to opacity and make it really light. Like down to 8%. There. Okay, let's let go. So there you go. We have a little bit of shade. It's actually a little too dark. I'm going to run it up for a minute. I think it looks better there anyway. And then I'm going to go down to the opacity even more. I think 8% is nothing. Well, you can go down to 5 and 2. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Or you could actually do a little bit something even crazier. You can go to fades. Let's do a weird fade on it. Let's do like that. And let's do a global fade. Let's get up a little bit. I'm going to crease it up. Just I want to see what it looks like. Oh, no, it's actually doing a fade. Okay. One other thing, I'm going to get rid of the outline. Okay. Has like an outline on it, doesn't need it. Okay, there you go. So now we have a fade that fades. Fade that fades, ha ha ha. All right, let's see. You want to go a little bit darker? Let's see. Okay. The other fun thing you can do is that you can go down to your gradient and play with it. You know, you can just like make it a little bit less or more. There. So I'm making the gradient move around. There you go. You could flip it around, make it go this way. Oh my god, this is like so bad. Okay. Okay, so let's grab it and see. Let's flip it over and see what happens. Nah, it looked better the other way. All right. Okay, so now we have our little bit of a shade there. We can go back to dark. It doesn't really matter. You just want something that's going to look nice. Okay, so we went down to 2% and we just left it black. So we have a very faint, maybe 2 is too small. I think 3 or 4. Okay, there. Okay, so now we have a very subtle shading, and you can pretty much say, oh, I'm done here, but we can still do more stuff. Let's do one more. A little bit of a shading here, because the bag is going to have also a little bit of shade happening in there. What I would like to do is get rid of this, and I'm going to just, again, go to my opacity and just go down a lot. Very subtle shading, the 16%, maybe even less, 10. All right, there. Okay, so we're going to say boom. So now we have a little bit of a shade there. Maybe even, let's see, let's go opacity a little bit more because that's getting too lost. Okay, let's see. At 16%, that looks fine. Okay, so you can also add some lines here because the there will be some shading outside of the handle because it kind of inserts into that. I guess you can call it a bombade edge. Let's see. Let's do a fat line. Let's do a 6-point line. Ooh, and the line has to be black. And let's go up even more. Okay, so again, opacity. The opacity is going to go down, and it's going to give us the yes, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's giving us a little bit of a shade there. Oops. Okay, so the same thing we can do here. We can even probably copy and paste the same one, but let's not be lazy. Let's do the same thing here. So what I'm going to do is the same thing. Opacity down to whatever it was, 15%, 14%. Okay, there. Okay, so, ta-da. Let's see. Well, actually, we are at 100%. So here you have a nice little tote, white, with very subtle shading. Looks good, and it's a perfect sketch to use as your product development. You can also add a little bit of a tone around here if you want to. Let's try that. Let's make this even less boring than it is. I mean, you will do boring stuff in product development, I promise you. And you should be happy because some people don't get to do anything. Okay, so let's see. Stroke, I'm going to round it off. I'm going to go again to my opacity. You get the feeling I like opacities, right? Okay. Okay, so let's see. I think maybe a little bit higher. Okay, 15%, and then I'm going to go here. There you see. So now the handle, the bombade tubular handle, well, it's not bombade, the tubular handle comes out, which is what it's supposed to do. Let's do the other side, and then we'll be done with this. Okay. And make a nice curve that echoes. Okay, I want to do this black. And again, I need to go up on the thickness of my line. Oh, what happened there? Oh, that did not work. Let's get rid of that. I never know what happens with these things. Okay, here we go. Let's try again. Okay, 1, 2, make a nice little curve. Okay. Actually, that did not work. Like a nice little curve. It's like a naughty little curve. Okay, there. Okay, now we're echoing the shape of our handle. Okay, so first thing we do is we get rid of this. And the next thing we do is we just go to opacity again. We go down, 13%. Okay, let's see how that looks. And let me go. I think this needs to be a little fatter. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there. Now our handles have some volume to them. The bag has some relief to it. It looks a little bit more three-dimensional, and we're done. So that was our next class. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me comments, subscribe, and if you have any questions, please send them to me. Someone was saying, oh, I want a question and answers. I don't get a lot of questions. I don't know where they're sending them to, but you can also post them as comments, and I'll collect them together and answer them if I can. Okay. All right, so I hope you enjoy your weekend, and thank you for watching. Toodles!